Is it, or what did you guys get done today just to get better?
Well, we were a little lighter on the live stuff today. Watched about 25, 30 minutes of film this morning, just kind of clean up some things from the first two live segments rather. And just take that opportunity to just, look at us, not worry about anybody else. Things we can kind of do that we talked about and didn't have carryover, or just, other things we can expound on without having to put the mileage on our legs. So I thought that segment was good. There was a lot of Q&A, so the guys are receptive and trying to get better. And then got up and down a little bit, a lot of shooting, a lot of script, and just one live segment this morning.
When you're in the teaching segment of practice, how do you deal with correcting something?
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I think you make the point, it's not personal. And you could go through, and I always joke, we don't pick the clips, you do. So it's just, these are mistakes that we don't want to repeat. They're teaching clips. It's not like we're calling anyone out. You could easily pick 3 or 4 of the same thing with different people involved. So you just happen to be in this particular instance. So I think guys at this point, they know that we're just all trying to get better. It's nothing personal, and it's just more, hey, let's figure this out. Let's talk about it. Make sure we have a clean understanding.
Mr. Leonsis was at practice today. What were some things you might have addressed to the players?
Well, he just made the point, how we not only represent ourselves, we represent the organization, the city. It's incumbent upon us to take that seriously, that we have to be ambassadors of the game, get out in the community, and re-engage to some degree. And obviously, a lot of that is with winning, but it's also about, bringing the right people together, people with character and integrity, that they're going to uphold the brand. So it's important to him. I think we've done a good job of trying to surround ourselves with those type of people. And obviously, I think, what we've started will continue, and hopefully that translates into wins.
Wes, you sound like an NFL coach upholding the brand, like protects the shield. Kuz the other day said something to us that I, as someone who does not watch film all the time, didn't quite understand. But he said he learned like a really smart way to watch film, something he talked about with Rajon Rondo for a long time. What's the difference between a smart way of watching film or a really efficient way of watching film, and just kind of like letting it wash over you?
Well, I think the processing. You can see something 3 or 4 times, and you still missed the point. So I think that's part of, your point, Chris, of when you watch film, really slowing it down. Because I think at times the game moves quickly, and it's easy for us as coaches to stop, rewind, and make finite points. Well, the game, it's moving fast. So you want to get guys to the point where they're not thinking, they're reacting. So understanding the situation, understanding our rules when it pertains to those type of situations, that takes a lot of the thought process out. But when it comes to the film, I think you really have to slow down and understand, what are we looking for? What are we teaching? What are we trying to get out of that particular clip?
That was kind of one of the things he said he learned from the best teams with in LA. Can you, when guys like KCP and Kuz have, won league titles and things like that, can you tell the things that they can then bring to the team? Like, does that actually make a difference, just knowing what it takes to get to the end of a long season and still be winning that far down the line?
Well, they can impart some of that along the way. I think it really holds fast when you start getting into the postseason, because we all know preseason is different than the regular season is different than playoffs. And not having gone through any of that for some of our guys, and even for me as a head coach, it's going to be different. So it's not necessarily how you prepare, but how do you cope with some of those moments? I think that's something that they can help us, because they've been there, they've done it. I think, the other part, being seasoned vets, they pick things up. And a lot of times things will happen in the scrimmages, they'll happen in the drills that we haven't talked about, but they already know, the coverage. They might not know the call or the command. They have a grasp of some of the different coverages that we haven't even touched yet. And that's just guys being around. They've been with other teams. They've been exposed.
I'm conscious of asking you too many questions about your last stop, but I hadn't realized how good you guys were at pick and roll defense in Denver, #1 in the league, points per possession. How were you guys so good at it? And, what could be applied here?
Just the constant repetition. As you see the way that the game is played, it's without knowing the real numbers, I'd probably say there's 50 plus pick and rolls per game. So it's a lot. And, just being constant in our communication, constant repetition in the muscle memory. So guys they're in concert. They see the action, they process it. Everyone knows their responsibility in that play. The more you can do that, I think, once again, takes the thinking out. And now they're just flying around, they're reacting. And it took us a lot of time in my previous spot that it didn't come right away. I'm trying to hopefully bring that ideology along where it's going to take some time, but every day, this is going to be something that we really have to concentrate on.
When we saw Denny Avdia doing 3-on-3 drills, playing a lot of defense, was there anything new today, or is it just kind of incremental steps moving forward?
Pretty much incremental. Every day gives him a larger window of practice. So that's good to see how he responds. But once again, just like a lot of young players, they need reps. So it's good for him at times to get reps before, reps after. Those small groups, small-sided games, those are just other opportunities for him to get his legs under him.
And as a new head coach, do you have anything planned in training camp to keep it light, or something surprise, or something in terms of team chemistry? Do you feel like there's an importance in that you have to have things planned?
I think you do. It's tough to do that in camp, especially in your home market, just because these guys their time's valuable, and it's a long season. We don't want to monopolize that while we're here. There are times throughout the season where you do, fun things off the floor, where they think it's going to be a practice. You take them off site to do something different. There are opportunities to do that, but right now I think everyone's locked into really being mindful of our time, being efficient in how we work, and really laying this foundation so we can get off to a good start.
All right, we'll go over to Neil on Zoom.
Coach, you touched on it that, you want to improve the team's pick and roll defense. You want them to, maybe not switch as much. In past years, the same things have been said. You got to guard your man. You got to take pride in it. How do you hope that, is it your philosophy or just having better talent? How do you think that it will actually be executed with you guys this year?
I think the biggest thing is accountability. And it's one thing to come from us, but the player-to-player accountability, where, all five are on the same page. So when there is a breakdown, instantly all five should know and understand what happened or what didn't happen, who's responsible. And it's not about, pointing fingers or this, that, and the other, but they got to be able to hold each other accountable. And I think with that builds trust. There's that level of communication, and I think that makes us better.
And Tommy spoke on that last week, that, there's some more self-policing that he's seeing, in some of the early runs before training camp. Have you seen that as well? And how have you seen that maybe even improved during the course of training camp?
What goes back to us learning each other. And, once we build that, rapport, I think it's great, the fact that those guys can police each other, police the locker room. So it's not always on us to have to make sure we're on time or doing the right thing, or even if we're doing the right coverage. Guys can take it upon themselves, and that just shows growth.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Coach.
Last question, Christos.
Hello, Coach. Hope you're doing well. Speaking about Corey Kispert, what impressed you most about his attitude in the team, and what's your plan about his rookie season?
Well, I think that's kind of up in the air. Corey's going to have opportunities, no doubt. The best part about it is, to see where he was through summer league, to see where he is now. He's a better player, and I think the game is starting to slow down for him. He's starting to process some of the things, ways he can be more effective on and off the ball. I think his size is something that we didn't necessarily take advantage of in summer league, and I think he's going to get better as a secondary playmaker, ball handler. He's going to garner a lot of attention because teams are going to read him as a shooter, but seeing him play off the bounce, move off the ball as a cutter, that orchestrates a lot of help, and it helps free up some of the other guys on the floor.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Good. Thanks, everybody.
Team chairman Ted Lance is out there addressing the team. Just kind of what were your impressions of, and what are you saying to you guys?
Ted's a great man. He's, I've had a chance to have a conversation with him prior to him coming up this way. And he's a very bright, intelligent man that, obviously business aside, he wants the Wizards to do well. You know, he always talks about, you know, how the Mystics are winning championships, you know, the 2K League winning championships, and you know, he really wants the Wizards to, you know, make that kind of push and that kind of type of trajectory. So you could tell he's an owner that really cares.
And I want to ask you about rebounding. It was not really a strength like 2 years ago for this team, but then they had obviously Russell Westbrook's pretty good at it, but now he's gone. I'm just wondering from your perspective, like what are going to be the priorities for you guys rebounding the ball to make sure that it can be strength?
I mean, rebound is all about effort. You know, I think that you know, to win basketball games in this league, regular season and playoffs, you got to be able to defend, and you know, ending on defense is always rebounding. So if you can always, if you can find a way to defend and rebound, you're going to put yourself, you know, in position and to have opportunities to win ball games. And, you know, it's all about effort. And, you know, obviously, you know, me being here, it's going to help out. You know, last year I was probably one of the better offensive rebounding wings in the league. And that's a big priority for me. You know, it's a big part of my game. It helps me get going. So, you know, I'll definitely be, you know, challenging a lot of guys to, you know, get in there because it's important. Because if we can stop guys to, you know, and limit them to one possession, possession after possession, it's going to bode well for us offensively. So,
Kuz, you talked on media day about watching film and when you first started like really getting into that stuff, and you mentioned that something you admired early in your career, the way that Rondo watched film. What is that? What's like a good way to watch it? What do you mean by that? I don't watch film, so I don't know what you're talking about there.
You know, I just think there's layers to watching film. You know, I think that the first layer of film is obviously you're watching yourself, and you're watching yourself, your movements the whole time. And then, you know, secondly, I'm talking from an offensive standpoint right now, and you know, it goes into defensively, but then you start watching, you know, the weak side. And then you're watching, like, you know, what the team is doing, where the low man is on the court, you know, where the help is supposed to be, where that rotation is supposed to be. And, you know, that's one thing that really opened up with Rondo was I caught myself in that first layer a lot, just watching myself. But, you know, the real answers to the test is, you know, off ball weak side, because, you know, that's always the secondary side. And a lot of times, that's the side of the floor that, you know, kind of matters most, because if guys aren't connected on that side, you know, it's easy layups, it's offensive rebound opportunities, and so on and so forth. So, you know, just looking at the whole floor, you know, looking at little things, obviously, you know, another thing, for instance, you know, a lot of times when it's a pick and roll coming, you know, you tend to always look at just the two men that are in the pick and roll. But, you know, looking at that weak side is just important because it'll help you learn the game while you're playing too. So,
And both you and KCPA have talked about having obviously championship experience, knowing what it takes to kind of last that long. Are there things from that experience that you guys can apply right now in training camp, or does that show up more in postseason when your legs are tired, when you're, you know, in that kind of part of the season?
no, it shows up every single day. It showed up, you know, September 8th when we got here. You know, having a championship attitude and mentality is, you know, obviously it is during that time of the season, obviously, but it's the little things. You know, you're not just a champion overnight, and everything really happens with a process and step by step. You know, and that starts with coming in, leading, holding guys accountable. You know, coming in and making sure you're taking care of your body, making sure you lift every day, making sure you're putting extra work before and after practice, and those type of things. That's what makes a champion and makes you have that type of mentality. So, you know, I think we've done a pretty good job of, you know, just coming in and being ourselves, because, you know, that's who we are. You know, it's ingrained in us now, and you know, that's how kind of me and Pope, you know, really approach the game of basketball. And you know, it's been great. It's been great. We've had a great competitive practices. Everyone's really dialed in, and you can tell, you know, we got a certain type of pop in the gym. So,
I'm also wondering if you have a favorite tattoo.
Favorite tattoo? Yeah, I'm working on my back right now. I got this one big mountain range, so got like 10 more hours to go. But Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be a minute.
You do some of them yourself, right?
Like I'll sketch them out first, and then like kind of like give person what I kind of want the vibe, but obviously they take it from there though.
That's
So
so cool.
yeah.
Hey Kyle, on media day, you talked about the influence Anthony Davis has had on your defense.
Yeah.
But what are some specific things that you were able to take away that you looked like your game?
I think the biggest thing is, with him, well, I'll take it back. I think, before I started improving defensively, I was terrible with using my length. And, just watching him every single day, that's the number one thing that always stands out with him. He has good feet. He's pretty mobile for a big, but he understands and knows his body and he knows how to use his length on the court. So, obviously, having a stick hand high or also knowing your personnel, being able to close out a certain guy, give a guy an angle, and use your length at the rim, always being in the right spot off defensively, whether that's getting charges, altering shots, or even blocking shots. So, he was a big part of, really helping me develop defensively. And not so much talking to me, but, just from just watching him every single day, and how he led in that regard. So.
Kyle, you've been around a lot of shot blockers. What is Gafford's ceiling?
I mean, he's got a chance. He's got a chance. He's a young player, very, very much like a pogo stick, someone that can just get up. And he reminds me a lot of someone athletically like JaVale McGee, and how every single time, we would get beat defensively and we just knew JaVale was back there, either to block a shot or to alter it. And, that's huge. That's a huge presence. And, I think the next step for him is really playing mind games with offensive players when they're approaching the rim. I think when you're a pogo stick type of athlete, you want to block everything because, that's your athletic ability and, you're confident in that. But, not every time calls for getting blocks, because a lot of times if you have that type of DNA, offensive players are smart and they'll try to, jump into you or, pump fake. And, with him, he's a very inquisitive person. He wants to learn, and he receives criticism really, really, really well. And he takes it in, and, he's got the sky's the limit for him for sure.
Is there someone that you competed against, and now that they're your teammate, that has kind of surprised you about how they get down in the practice environment?
That's a great question. Just really everybody, because you don't really know, what type of guy someone is, on the court when they're playing basketball, because, when the game comes on, everybody's going hard. But, just seeing everyone's work habits, and, I've been really impressed and surprised by, everybody, because everyone comes in and they, they have the itch to work and improve their games. And, everybody has a certain type of laser-like focus and practice to improve and listen to coaches. And, I think just the best part about this team so far is, it's no real egos, and everyone's cool. Everyone, if I got something to say to somebody, they're going to take it. If I'm not doing my job, you could say something to me too. And, that's the best type of environment to be around, because at the end of the day, everyone's trying to win. And, in order to win, you got to have that type of mentality to where, you're coming in, you're working, you have great habits, and everyone can be held accountable by themselves, but other people.
All right, we'll take a couple on Zoom. Neil?
Hey Kyle, first off, is the mountain range like actual mountain range that you're going off of, or just a sketch?
It's like a imaginary mountain range.
Gotcha.
I mean, it was kind of tough because the placement of it on my back, it's kind of tough to really find one that looks like that, but looks good.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And second, I figure you guys haven't necessarily talked about your role, whether it's going to be starting or off the bench. You've had experience with both so far in your career. How do you change your mentality, if at all, coming off the bench or starting?
Well, I'm not really sure about all that, but I know for me, I've done a great job in these practices of just being a leader, coming in, working my tail off, and really just showing my versatility. Not just being a scorer, but just doing a little bit of everything. Defending guys. Whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4s, and then also other end scoring, but playmaking as well. So, I'm looking forward to having a real successful season. So,
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Christos?
Hey, Kyle, hope you're doing well. What did you learn so far playing alongside Bradley Bill?
It's just, every day I learn something new, about him. Obviously, I watch a lot of basketball. I watch a lot of guys in this league. And I've watched him for, multiple years and the way he plays. But, every single day, you find out something more about him. Finding out that, he's a pretty good passer. He's looking that way. And, obviously when you got a guy that scores 30 points every night, from the outside looking in, you're thinking that, it's not really a willing passer and not this, but, he makes the right play. And that's very important for winning basketball. And, for guys that can, and I see it all the time, especially playing with Brown and AD, if they wanted to, they could come down to court and score every single time if they wanted to. But understanding your teammates and realizing that, whatever the right play is in front of you, that's the most important thing. And he does that. And, it's really encouraging and it helps the whole team. So.
And also, what result will make you satisfied at the end of the season?
Say it one more time.
What result will make you satisfied at the end of the season?
What result? It's a building block. Every day you got to build. And, Jason Kidd used to always say, the regular season, every day, every game, every practice, it's all rehearsal for the playoffs. So if we can kind of have that type of mentality that, every day we're getting better, we're trying to see what works, what doesn't work, play to our strengths, not to our weaknesses. And we can build on those type of things, by, after All-Star break, we get clicking at the right time. That's the most important thing. And then we let the chips fall where they do. Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of just navigated, 3 days of training camp. I kind of laugh because you played so much basketball, but this is like the level you've always wanted to get to. So has the dream of playing NBA kind of lived up to it so far during camp?
Yeah, I mean, yes, it has. It's asking a lot of questions. It's being a student. It's watching first. It's, all that stuff before you go out there and do it. You don't want to be the guy to mess things up. You want to make sure that things are clear before you go in there. And thankfully, guys like Brad and Spencer and Trez and Kuz have been really vocal with me about where they want to see me on the floor, what's open and what I can do. And I feel really confident. I feel clear-headed on the floor, and I'm in a really good spot. Thanks to the guys out there, they're making it really easy.
So I always ask rookies that have experienced summer league, what was it like when it was over with? And then when you get to camp, were you like, whoa, that was different than Vegas, and Vegas was different than college? Have you noticed, like,
yeah, well,
that's
yeah,
really good, and
yeah,
really like all that stuff?
Yeah, no, it's different. Like, it's part of the same, part different. Coach Wes was with us at summer league, and he ran every practice, and he, basically put in our offensive system in summer league. So I had a little bit of a head start coming here, and everything I'm seeing as far as the offensive system goes is review. But with that being said, yeah, Spencer and Brad weren't handling the ball in summer league. So that's the adjustment, is to get used to that caliber of player. And honestly, it makes my job a lot easier too, playing off those guys. That's what I wanted when I came here. That's what I was so excited about. is because they make they make my job really easy with how good they are.
One follow, when do you challenge Dallas for range 3-point shooting?
We're figuring it out. Yeah, we'll make sure to let you guys know when it happens.
Hey, Corey, I must ask about your Mariners hat then. Who are your favorite all-time Mariners, and are Ichiro and or Yusei Kikuchi on that?
I would say my all-time favorite, although I was a toddler when he was playing, was Ken Griffey. But yes, Ichiro was a very big part of my childhood. Yusei Kikuchi, a little bit less. I mean, he's kind of been in and out, injuries and stuff like that, but he's been great for our starting rotation. But yeah, Ichiro, I'm really happy that he, stuck around through some pretty dark days in Seattle, because he made it a bright spot coming to those games. It was a lot of fun to watch him play.
Staying on the year here.
Yep.
Obviously, the rest of your family is on the West Coast.
Mhm.
You're a Washington guy.
Mhm.
What is it like? Just kind of, I know you guys are like in apartments and all focused on basketball, but do you feel like you've had time to like take stock of the life part of it yet? Like, you talked to your family, did they kind of help you move in or make that transition at all?
Absolutely. So, my mom was out here for a few days, just kind of helping me move in when I first got here, and thank the Lord, because she's a while ago, she spent probably 5 or 7 years as an interior designer professionally. So yeah, I mean, she like had my style like pinned down, and she's like, Corey, I'm going to get this couch for you, this bed frame, this wall stuff for you. And she like laid out this like beautiful apartment for me. And all I had to do was say yes. And I felt like I was on like a real life character on HGTV, because she just made my apartment look so good. So she's been great. And then my parents will be out here during the preseason for a little bit, and then at the end of October.
Have you had a chance to get any free time yet? Like, do you make time in the day to make sure, like, okay, I need to clear my mind or relax, or I don't want to do any of that stuff?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, thankfully, our practices are kind of in the middle of the day. And we're done by 2, so plenty of sunlight left to kind of explore and do all that stuff. I play a lot of golf, so I've been doing that a little bit. Getting out to courses and driving ranges and stuff, and trying to stay sharp there. And I'm actually still in the master's program at Gonzaga, so kind of doing a little bit of homework still.
What are you getting your master's in?
MBA, yeah, business.
Whatever. I just remember like reading all the stories about how you're like Mr. Perfect or whatever. I'm like, okay, this is all falling.
Yeah, not even close. Not even close. I still hate doing homework, but I'm gonna do it anyways.
I also wanted to ask you what type of communicator Spencer is.
Yeah.
He's obviously a little low key. He says he's still learning you guys, but what is it like when he's talking on the floor?
Yeah, he commands a lot of respect from a lot of people. It's clear that he's seen, every sort of defense, and he also is really articulate. Like, he says exactly what he means, and there's no confusion about what he means or where he wants you to be, and looks you in the eye and is really intense about it. And there's a lot of respect for somebody like that. Someone who can have a clear conversation with you and isn't afraid of conflict or confrontation when it's needed. He's a really good leader from what I've seen so far.
Going back to the NBA talent level and being around it for the first time,
Yeah.
What has kind of stood out to you the most? Is it the size, the athleticism, the shooting? Is there something that is like, wow, this is the NBA?
Yeah, well, I would probably say that, like you don't get a break. Like, I mean, every single guy on the floor is on the floor for a reason, and in college, there were, certain people that got on the floor that you kind of like, segue off of, couldn't shoot, couldn't but in the NBA, that's just not the case. No matter who you're guarding, especially on this floor with all this talent, like you have to be on 100% of the time. So, the speed is, I feel like I've gotten used to the speed and the athleticism and the size, and I played against some really good athletes in college, and this is better, but it takes a little bit, a little less for that. But for me, it's just exactly like how talented every single person on the floor is. Like, there's no dip, no matter, 1 to 15.
And obviously, a lot of people talk about your shooting, but you also get a lot of praise for your ability as a cutter.
Mhm.
Kind of how did that develop for you, and why do you think people praise you as a cutter? What are kind of your priorities?
Yeah, that really kind of, I molded that part of my game last year. We were a very like spatially aware team at Gonzaga. We knew exactly where everybody was on the floor. when to cut, how to cut, the timing of it. We gelled so well as a team that, cutting was a huge part of our offense. And it was a huge part of the way that I scored points. So, the space is more, there's more space in the NBA and there's more gaps to cut in. And, guys like I've talked with guys like Brad and Aaron and Spencer, they know I'm going to cut and they know I'm going to be there. So they got their heads up looking for it. And it's just another wrinkle we can add.
In terms of learning chemistry with your teammates, I would imagine cutting, there's a degree of difficulty, or at least it takes some time so you don't run into other players, right? Kind of what was that like at Summer League, and what is that like now? Just kind of like trying to build that chemistry as a cutter.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely been some moments where I feel like I'm on top of guys, or I'm taking away space from guys, and I'm learning as much as they are. So they're learning about me, and I'm learning about them. So it's just a patience thing, just waiting it out and ironing out the kinks, and we'll be there soon enough. But yeah, definitely won't stop cutting, and definitely won't stop trying to get in the mix and get my nose in there.
One more. I did meet your mom. She's a very nice lady. But did you feel like you could veto, or did you veto any of her design?
Yeah, I did veto some design decisions. Yeah, I did. But part of why she was such a good interior designer is that she has like a read on people. Like, she has this gift that if you spend 5 minutes with her, she can I think you like this in your living room, and this accent color and whatever. This is kind of your style. And she's been around me for 18 years. And so she's got it nailed down pretty good. But ultimately I'm the one swiping the credit card. So I got the final veto power.
All right, Corey, we're going to transition to Zoom for questions. Christos.
Hello, Corey. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What was the biggest adjustment that you made in those days in the training camp so far?
Did you ask what biggest adjustments?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I kind of mentioned it earlier, just getting to know the players on the team. I haven't played a lot of minutes yet and don't have a lot of experience with the guys on the floor. So making sure I can get in every rep I can and ask questions and be a student on the floor probably is the biggest adjustment, over the speed or the athleticism or anything else, really.
And also you have teammates like Bradley Beal, Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell. How important about your growth as a player is this situation, and what do you expect to learn from them this season?
Yeah, it's been great. I expect to learn a lot, especially from those guys that are coming from the Lakers. They've won rings and they've been at the highest level. They know what it takes to play there. So, us as an organization want to get to that point in the worst way. So we're gonna, we're gonna work off of the way that they, got to that point, and we're gonna try to make a run at it this year too.
All right, looks like you're all set. Thanks for your time, Corey.
Thanks, guys.